Sofia Williams' knuckles were white as she clutched the steering wheel of her aging Ford pickup, fighting to keep control as a Montana blizzard swallowed Highway 287 inches a roaring wall of white. Snow lengthened the windshield, erasing the road ahead and transforming the familiar stretch into a narrow tunnel of chaos. It was February 5th, 3 years to the day. Her chest tightened as she neared mile marker 47. The curve, the place where her life had split in two. That was where the ice had betrayed her, where the truck spun helplessly, where metal met wood with a violence that still shadowed in her nightmares. The tree, the passenger side, her son's side, the side she hadn't been able to shield. Lucas had been 7 years old. Every year since the Lucas, Sofia made this drive from Helena 2 hours through snow and silence to place sunflowers at the small white cross she had nailed into the pine trunk. Sunflowers had been Lucas' favorite. She would kneel there for 20 minutes, sobbing into the frozen air, then leave with her guilt heavier than before. But this year was different. This year, at the exact place where her child had taken his final breath, Sofia would encounter another mother fading into the snow. Another family shattered by the same merciless bend in the road. And she would be forced into a decision that would redefine everything she believed about loss, blame, and whether a broken heart could ever truly heal. Sofia survived the Lucas with minor injuries. Lucas lingered for 3 hours in the hospital. She held his small hand, begged God for a miracle, for a trade, a rewind. Anything but the monitor eventually flattened into a sound that ended her world. 3 years followed. Therapy sessions where Dr. Helen asked questions Sofia couldn't answer. A marriage that collapsed under the weight of grief. Her ex-husband insisting it wasn't her fault until he finally left, unable to watch her slowly disappear. Sofia never doubted the truth she told herself. I was driving. I missed the ice. I killed my son. Snow thickened as she pulled over at 4:14 p.m., the precise minute the Lucas had occurred. She reached for the sunflowers resting on the passenger seat, the same bright blooms Lucas once plucked from their garden, grinning with pride as he handed them to her. Her boots crunched through fresh powder as she approached the cross, breath fogging the air. Then she stopped. Something moved in the snow. 20 meters from the tree, a large gray wolf lay on her side, silver fur dusted white. 2 tiny cubs were pressed against her belly, their bodies shaking violently. Sarah's mind sharpened with the clarity of shock. Deep paw prints led from the forest to the road. Skid marks scarred the asphalt. Blood stained the snow. A drag trail told the rest of the story. The male wolf had been struck at the curve, thrown several meters, dead. The female had dragged his body away from the road, driven by instinct to protect him even after life had left him. Now she lay dying in the cold, her body shutting down, her cubs starving and freezing beside her. 2 mothers. Same place. Some death. Sofia collapsed to her knees. The sunflowers slipped from her hands. The cubs, both male, no more than 8 weeks old, tried weakly to nurse, but their mother had nothing left to give. Their cries were barely audible beneath the wind. The wolf lifted her head with tremendous effort. Her yellow eyes met Sarah. There was no fear, no threat, only acceptance. Sofia knew the options. She could call fish, wildlife, and parks. Help might come in hours, but the wolves wouldn't survive that long. She could leave, pretend she never saw them, walk away, like she'd tried to walk away from her pain. Then she noticed something that shattered her. The wolf hadn't dragged herself away from the road. She had dragged herself closer, closer to passing cars, closer to humans. She had been waiting for someone to stop, the same way Sofia had waited for help in the ambulance, the same way she had begged doctors and God to save her child. Sofia ran. She started the truck, blasted the heat, and grabbed the emergency blanket she'd kept since the accident, always prepared, always haunted by being too late. When she returned, the wolf didn't resist as Sofia lifted the first cub. As Sofia wrapped them both and placed them between heaters in the back seat, the mother closed her eyes, as if granting permission. The wolf weighed nearly 100 pounds. Sofia barely managed to drag her, inch by inch, the animal weakly assisting when she could. It took 15 minutes. Sofia cried the entire time, pleading, screaming, begging anyone who might hear. Finally, the wolf lay beside her cubs. Sofia collapsed into the driver's seat, shaking uncontrollably. In the mirror, she saw the wolf turn her head, tongue dry and weak as she gently licked her babies, fighting to stay conscious. Sofia drove. Not back to Helena, but forward. Toward Missoula, toward the emergency veterinary clinic, 40 minutes away through a raging blizzard. Hold on. She whispered over and over. Please don't leave them. She wasn't sure who she was speaking to, the wolf, her son, memory, or herself. Snow battered the windshield. The truck skidded twice, but she kept going, checking the mirror every few seconds. The cubs had stopped shivering, either warming or slipping away. She pressed harder on the gas, and as she drove, she remembered Lucas' hand going limp in hers. The monitor final sound, the nurses pulling her back. She refused to lose another child at mile marker 47. She had clung to Lucas' hospital bed, screaming that this couldn't be real, that someone had made a mistake. Her husband stood frozen in the corner, face drained of color, unable to look at her because meeting her eyes meant accepting the truth that their son was gone, and that blame would inevitably land somewhere. On her. She had been driving. For 3 years, Sofia carried a single conviction. She did not deserve happiness. She did not deserve calm. She certainly did not deserve forgiveness. But somewhere in that last hour, dragging a dying wolf across frozen ground, staring directly into a reflection of her worst nightmare, something inside her had shifted. She couldn't name it yet. She only knew that if these wolves died, something vital inside her would perish with them, something deeper than what grief had already destroyed. Dr. Jack Hudson was locking up the Missoula Emergency Veterinary Clinic when the screech of tires tore through the quiet parking lot. It was 7:45 p.m. on an otherwise lifeless Tuesday. He looked up to see a snow-covered pickup skid to a halt and a woman leap out, screaming for help. When he opened the back door, he stopped cold. A full-grown wolf. 2 cubs. All barely alive. I have to report this to Fish and Wildlife, he said, already pulling a gurney toward them. I know, Sofia yelled, helping him lift the limp body. Just save them first. I'll quote. For the next 4 hours, Dr. Hudson worked with relentless focus. The mother wolf core temperature had plunged to 89.6 degrees, far below survivable levels. She was severely dehydrated, dangerously malnourished. She hadn't eaten in days, every remaining ounce of energy spent producing milk for her cubs. He started heated IV fluids, wrapped her in warming blankets, connected cardiac monitors. The cubs were barely warmer, hypoglycemic, shaking uncontrollably. The smaller one, pale gray and fragile, showed early signs of pneumonia. Sofia never left the room. She sat on the floor, watching every movement. When the wolf suddenly convulsed, her body seizing violently in hypothermic shock, Sofia screamed and grabbed Dr. Hudson's arm. He was already administering glucose, already adjusting the warming protocol. In 15 years of emergency medicine, he had never seen anyone fight this fiercely for animals they had known less than an hour. By 11:30 p.m., the wolf heart rhythm steadied. At 12:15, the cubs stopped shivering. At 1 a.m., the mother opened her eyes. She saw Sarah. She saw her cubs asleep in a heated incubator beside her. Then she closed her eyes again, but this time, without pain. Dr. Hudson lowered himself onto the floor beside Sarah, both of them drained beyond words. Fish and Wildlife will come in the morning, he said quietly. They'll transfer them to rehabilitation. You saved them, but you know you can't keep them. Sofia stared at the sleeping wolf. I just needed them to live. After a moment, he asked softly, why did you stop? Most people would have driven past. She was silent for a long time. Then, without turning her head, she said, my son died on that curve 3 years ago today. I was driving. There was nothing he could say. I couldn't save him, she whispered. But these I could. The next morning, February 6th, Abigail Torres from Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks arrived. She was calm, professional, compassionate, but firm. Mrs. Williams, protocol requires rescued wildlife to be transferred to certified rehabilitation facilities. The wolf and cubs will go to the Northern Rockies Wildlife Sanctuary. No, Sofia said immediately. Abigail blinked. Excuse me? Not yet. The mother is still weak. The smaller cub has pneumonia. Moving them now could kill them. Dr. Hudson backed her. She correct. Transport at this stage is high risk. I recommend 72 hours of stabilization. Abigail sighed. She'd seen this before, humans forming attachments they shouldn't. 3 days. She agreed. Then they're transferred. And you understand you won't be able to visit them afterward. Human contact must be minimized. Sofia swallowed. 3 days. In those 3 days, something fundamental changed inside her. She didn't return to Helena. She rented a room at the motel beside the clinic and spent nearly 16 hours a day in recovery. Dr. Hudson allowed it not because the wolves needed her, but because he recognized that she did. She learned to mix formula for the cubs, goat milk, supplements, protein, feeding them every 4 hours. They drank eagerly, tiny paws flexing as if pushing against invisible ground. She named them silently, knowing she shouldn't. Ethan, the larger, darker one. Shadow, the smaller, paler one. Fragile, careful. The mother wolf she called Luna, only in her thoughts. Luna regained strength slowly. On the second day, she stood. On the third, she tore into raw venison with teeth designed for survival. There was a moment that nearly destroyed Sarah. She had just finished feeding Shadow. Warm and full, he yawned and fell asleep in her palm, utterly trusting. The sensation shattered her. She remembered Lucas at 3 months old, sleeping against her chest. The warmth, the weight, the complete surrender. Sofia cried silently for 20 minutes. Luna watched from her medical bed, eyes steady, unreadable. On the third day, Abigail returned with a transport team. "It's time, Mrs. Williams." Sofia told herself she was ready. She wasn't. As Luna and the cubs were placed into transport crates, Luna resisted for the first time. She pressed her nose to the bars, whining softly. The cubs cried in response. Sofia stepped forward and placed her hand against the metal. Luna inhaled her scent. "You're going to be okay," Sofia whispered. "You're going to raise them. They'll be strong. And one day, you'll go home." Abigail rested a hand on her shoulder. "You did something extraordinary. Now they need distance for their own future." Sofia nodded, unable to speak. She watched the van disappear down the road, standing in the parking lot until the taillights vanished. Dr. Hudson called from the doorway. "You want a beer?" "I need 10, she replied. Back in Helena, the house felt frozen in time. Lucas' drawings still clung to the refrigerator. His shoes remained by the door untouched, because moving them felt like erasing him. Her ex-husband had taken his half of the memories when he left. Sofia kept hers like open wounds. She returned to routine, managing the hardware store, grocery shopping, the gym, weekly therapy. When Dr. Helen asked how she was doing, Sofia said, "Fine." She wasn't. Something had cracked open in her chest, and she didn't know how to seal it again. The absence of the wolves hurt differently than Lucas' loss, sharper, newer. She reached for her phone dozens of times a day, never dialing fish and wildlife. In therapy, Dr. Helen asked about the anniversary. "This year felt different," Sofia said slowly. "I saved them, but now it feels like I lost them too." "That isn't strange," Dr. Helen replied. "You tied their survival to your own healing." Sofia didn't mention the dreams, the yellow eyes, the way she woke reaching for fur that wasn't there. 5 weeks later, she was eating instant noodles alone when her phone rang. "Unknown number. Mrs. Williams," said Abigail Torres. Sarah's heart stopped. "Oh God, something happened. Shadow died." "They're fine," Abigail said quickly, hearing the panic in Sarah's silence. "More than fine, actually. Luna has fully recovered, and the cubs are thriving." Sofia let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. But Abigail continued, "We have a problem." Sarah's stomach tightened. "What kind of problem?" "Luna isn't integrating with other wolves. The rehabilitation center has 2 additional rescues, and we followed standard introduction procedures, but she won't allow contact. She overly protective, aggressive. She keeps the cubs completely isolated." Sofia frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means we likely can't release her. A single adult with 2 cubs has a survival rate of about 12%. They need a pack. But Luna won't let the cubs learn pack behavior. She treats other wolves as threats instead of teachers." Cold settled in Sarah's chest. "So what happens to them?" "If nothing changes, permanent sanctuary," Abigail said quietly. "They'd be safe, well-fed, but they'd live behind fences forever. No true hunting, no real wilderness." Sofia sat in silence. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because they're another option," Abigail said. "It's unconventional. So unconventional I could lose my job for suggesting it." Sarah's heart pounded. "What option?" "Assisted release. You would manage their transition back into the wild." "That insane. It would take months. It's isolating." And we've never attempted this with someone who isn't a wildlife biologist. Then why me? Because Luna trusts you, Abigail said simply. I saw it the day you brought her in. I've been doing this for 18 years. I know when an animal sees someone as pack. Sofia shook her head. You're asking me to raise wolves. Not raise. Abigail corrected. Rewild. Teach them to hunt. Teach them to fear humans again. Then let them go. And if it fails, they live in captivity for life. Sofia closed her eyes. Federal land. Abigail continued. Remote section of the Bitterroot Mountains. An isolated cabin, generator power for 4 hours a day. No internet, no cell service, just you and the wolves. 4 to 6 months. I have a job, a house, a life. Sofia said, then realized how empty those words sounded. I know. Abigail said softly. If you need time, when do I start? Sofia interrupted. The cabin sat deep in the Bitterroot wilderness, 3 hours from the nearest town. Rough timber walls, a wood-burning stove, an ancient generator that rattled like it might die any day, solar panels, powered lights, and a small refrigerator, nothing more. Sofia arrived in early March with Luna and the cubs, now 14 weeks old and nearly the size of medium dogs. Abigail stayed for 3 days, drilling her on protocol. No affection, Abigail warned. No bonding. You're a food source, not a companion. They need to associate humans with temporary necessity, not safety. Sofia nodded, already realizing how difficult this would be. The first weeks were harder than she imagined. She rose before dawn, hiking kilometers through dense forest to place deer carcasses supplied by fish and wildlife in carefully chosen locations. Luna had once been an accomplished hunter, but trauma and desperation had overridden instinct. Sarah's job was to awaken what fear had buried. At first, Luna only ate food placed near the cabin. Gradually, Sofia moved it farther away. More hidden, more challenging. Luna had to search. To remember, one morning in late March, Sofia watched through binoculars as Luna guided Ethan and Shadow along scent trails. The cubs stumbled, distracted by insects and stones. Luna corrected them with gentle nudges and low growls. Sofia smiled, feeling pride she had no right to claim. In April, everything changed. Returning to the cabin at dusk, Sofia heard howling, not fear, but triumph. She ran toward the sound. Through night vision lenses, she saw Luna and the cubs surrounding a rabbit. Ethan lunged too early and failed. Shadow waited. On his second attempt, he caught it. Luna lifted her head and howled. The cubs joined in. Hidden behind a tree, Sofia cried. As spring deepened into summer, the distance grew exactly as it was meant to. Luna stopped approaching the cabin. The cubs followed her lead, sleeping farther away, hunting independently. When Sofia left food less often now, it sometimes went untouched. One evening in late May, Luna stood at the tree line watching Sarah. Just watching. Sofia waved, knowing it was foolish. Luna turned and disappeared into the forest. Sofia stood alone and let herself grieve. She realized she was mourning a loss that hadn't happened yet, preparing to let go while still holding on. Her role was temporary. She was the bridge between captivity and freedom, and her success meant erasing herself. In early June, Abigail returned for evaluation. She observed for 2 days, watching hunts, cooperation, avoidance of human structures. They're ready, Abigail said finally. And once you leave, they'll fully disengage. Sofia nodded. Where? Anywhere within 50 miles. Sofia didn't hesitate. I know exactly where. February 5th. 4 years since Lucas died. 1 year since she found Luna. Sofia drove Highway 287 with 3 transport crates in the back. She didn't look in the mirror. If she did, she would cry, and she needed to drive. At mile marker 47, she stopped. The white cross was still there. Sofia opened the crate doors and stepped back. Luna emerged first. She smelled the air, recognized the place. This was where everything had ended and begun. Ethan and Shadow followed, strong, powerful, wild. They looked at Sofia one last time. Their eyes held intelligence, memory, maybe gratitude. Or maybe that was just Sofia projecting meaning where none existed. She wanted to speak, to thank them, to say she loved them, to say they had saved her. But she said nothing. They were not hers. They never had been. And then they vanished into the trees. Luna took a single step toward the trees, then paused. She turned back, her golden eyes locking with Sarah. Logic told Sofia that what she felt next was impossible, but she felt it anyway. Gratitude. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching. Luna lifted her head and howled. The sound rolled across the mountains, raw and aching and breathtaking all at once. Ethan and Shadow joined her, three voices weaving together beneath the February sky. Then they turned and ran. Within seconds, they vanished into the forest, as if they had never been there at all. Sofia stood alone on the shoulder of Highway 287 as snow began to drift down. She walked to the pine tree and knelt at the white cross, placing fresh sunflowers at its base like she did every year. But this time, she added something new, a small wooden carving of three wolves, shaped during long, silent nights in the cabin. She set it beside Lucas' flowers. As she returned to her truck, she heard it distant but unmistakable. Three howls carried on the wind. Luna, Ethan, Shadow. We're okay. Goodbye. Thank you. Sofia started the engine and drove away. And for the first time in 4 years, passing mile marker 47 didn't bring only pain. Something else stirred inside her, fragile, unfamiliar, terrifying. Peace. She didn't go straight home. 20 miles down the road, she pulled into a truck stop and sat there for hours. Engine running, heater humming, staring through the windshield as strangers came and went. Families, truckers, people with somewhere to be. Sofia had no destination yet, and that was okay. She reached for her phone. No service. She was oddly grateful. If she could call, she knew she'd ask for reassurance she didn't need. Better to sit with the memories, the wolves, her son, and let the silence tell her what came next. What came next was this. She returned to Helena and stood in the hallway outside Lucas' bedroom. For 4 years, the door had stayed closed. This time, she opened it. The scent hit her instantly. Crayons, paper, that unmistakable warmth of childhood no candle had ever captured. She sat on his bed, surrounded by drawings and toys, and cried. But the tears were different now. Softer, cleaner. I will always love you, she whispered. I will always miss you. But I can't keep dying with you. I have to try to live. The next morning, she called her manager at the hardware store and asked for personal leave. He didn't hesitate. She'd earned that grace. Then, Sofia did something she hadn't done since the accident. She went to the Helena Animal Shelter. She passed rows of barking dogs until she reached a quiet kennel in the back. An older black lab mix sat there, muzzle flecked with gray, watching her calmly. That Duke, the volunteer said. He came in 6 months ago. His owner passed away. He a good dog, but people want puppies. Can I meet him? In the small visiting room, Duke approached slowly and sat in front of her. No jumping, no licking, just patient eyes, as if asking a question. Sofia rested her hand on his head. He leaned into her touch. She cried. I'll take him, she said. Duke didn't replace Lucas. Nothing could. He didn't replace the wolves either, but he gave her something she'd been missing: structure, responsibility, the quiet, steady need of another living being. She had to wake up for him, feed him, walk him, sit beside him in the evenings. Not crisis, just continuity. Sofia started running again, something she hadn't done since before Lucas was born. 1 mile at first. Painful, humbling, but she kept going. Duke waited at home, tail wagging when she returned. In April, she made another decision. She quit her job and used her savings to enroll in wildlife rehabilitation courses. If she was going to keep doing this, really do it, she needed training. The coursework was brutal. Biology, behavior, medical basics. Some nights, she wanted to quit, but she remembered Luna dragging herself through snow for her cubs. If a wolf could survive that, Sofia could pass an exam. In June, Abigail called. They're alive, she said. We haven't seen them, which is exactly what we want. But there have been sightings of a female and 2 juveniles hunting together north of the release site. Sofia closed her eyes. They're okay. They're thriving, Abigail said. You gave them a chance. Afterward, Sofia told Duke all about the wolves. He listened, resting his head on her leg, understanding everything that mattered. Summer gave way to fall. Sofia finished her courses and began volunteering at a local wildlife rescue, mostly birds, small mammals. quiet work that still mattered. She made friends. She laughed again. In November, she went on a date. It felt strange, guilty, but she remembered how Lucas used to make her laugh on purpose. He would have wanted this. In December, she put up a small Christmas tree. Just lights. Just enough. Duke regarded it with suspicion, then accepted it. On Christmas morning, Sofia ate pancakes, watched old movies, and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Almost normal. Almost whole. And that was enough. January arrived with quiet triumph. Sofia passed her wildlife rehabilitation certification exam, and Abigail sent a bouquet with a simple note. "I never doubted you." Sofia framed the certificate and hung it in her kitchen. It was the first achievement she'd earned in years that wasn't about enduring pain, it was about growth, about becoming something new from the remains of who she'd once been. Then February 5th came, 5 years since Lucas' death. Sofia woke with the familiar heaviness, the date that had divided her life into before and after. But this time, the weight felt different. She had survived 4 anniversaries barely breathing. This year, she was still standing. She drove to mile marker 47, as she always did. She brought sunflowers. But this year, she also carried the wooden wolves last year trio and a new, smaller carving she'd made for Lucas. 4 wolves now. He would have loved that. He would have begged her to tell the story again and again. She placed the flowers and carvings beneath the tree. The morning was cold and gray. No snow this time, just bare branches and the rush of passing traffic. She spoke to Lucas softly, told him about the wolves, about Duke, about school, about trying to be human again. "I'm not okay," she admitted. "I don't know if I ever will be. But I'm better. I'm trying. I hope that enough. I hope you'd be proud." She turned to leave and froze. Across the highway, barely visible at the edge of the forest, stood 3 figures. Gray, powerful, still. Wolves. One larger in the center, 2 flanking her, nearly full-grown now. Sarah's heart slammed in her chest. It couldn't be. The odds were impossible. 30 miles of wilderness lay between here and their range. Yet she knew, with the certainty of instinct, not logic, this place mattered. It was where their lives had collided, where loss and mercy had met in the snow. The central wolf stepped forward. The others stayed close. No fear, no threat, just recognition. Sofia lifted her hand, whispering words she knew they couldn't hear, trusting they might feel them anyway. "Thank you. For surviving. For showing me that broken things can heal if you're patient, brave, and willing to try." They stood for another heartbeat, then turned. One by one, they slipped into the trees and were gone, like smoke dissolving into air. Cars passed. No one noticed. Sofia slid into her truck, hands trembling on the wheel, crying and smiling at the same time. She drove home to Helena, to Duke waiting by the door, to a life that was small, quiet, imperfect, and hers. She had learned something this past year. Learned it from a wolf who refused to surrender in the snow. From 2 cubs who survived on instinct alone. From an aging dog who needed her as much as she needed him. Survival isn't weakness. Continuing to live isn't betrayal. Building a new life from the ruins of an old one isn't forgetting it, honoring what mattered enough to carry forward. On the drive home, Sofia stopped for coffee. She sat by the window watching ordinary people pass, and for the first time in 5 years, she felt like maybe one day she could be ordinary again too. She would never be who she was before. That woman died with Lucas. But this new version scarred, rebuilding, learning might still find joy. Might laugh without guilt. Might live with grief instead of being consumed by it. Somewhere, Luna ran through the forest, guiding her grown offspring through a wild, unforgiving world. If a wolf could survive and thrive, so could Sarah. Different path, same truth. You survive by moving forward one step, one breath at a time. By accepting help when it appears. By choosing, every single day, to keep going. Sofia fed Duke. Made dinner. Folded laundry. Ordinary tasks that once felt meaningless now felt like victory. She was alive. She was trying. And for today, that was enough. Tomorrow, she would try again. One day at a time. Sofia Williams was learning how to live again, and in the end, that was everything.